What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Comics Clash. It's Isaiah, and the latest episode of Moon Knight debuted on Disney Plus today. So I'm going to be giving you guys my full spoiler review on this episode and my predictions for episode 6 coming out next week. Now, I know I haven't done any Moon Knight content yet, but this episode was just so good that I could not wait to talk about it, and I could not wait to do it in my series review, which I will still be posting next week. So stay tuned for that. But with that said, let's dive into my spoiler review for episode 5. Now, episode 5 was easily the best episode in the show. It was absolutely amazing. It was gut-wrenching, emotional, and it was just so great. It fleshed out the character of Mark so well, and we actually got to see his traumatic childhood and how his mom just feels that he killed his brother. And it was not Mark's fault, but his mom just kept beating him and yelling at him and calling him names, and just, it was so heart-wrenching, and I felt so bad for Mark, and I can kind of see now how his life has turned to this. And I really felt for Mark's dad, because Mark's dad was actually trying his best to stay with Mark, keep his family together, but in the end it didn't work, and I just really feel sorry for that dad. I wonder where the dad is now, because I hope they can reconcile by the end of the show. Well, I don't think they will, but it would be a very great small plot point that I would really enjoy seeing, that Mark and his dad can reconcile. Maybe they were still talking after the funeral, but I don't think they did, so it would be really nice to see them, talk together. Anyway, there's a whole lot more in this episode I have to talk about. Of course, we get to see the reveal that Mark is the original person inside this body, and that Steven was a creation of his mind. Steven was his way to cope with what his mom did to him, and how his mom blamed him for the death of his brother. And just, I really feel bad for Mark and how he had to do this and make Steven, Steven is this really nice, energetic guy, and he based him off a character from a movie, and it's just his way to cope with the pain that he's been through in his life. And so, yeah, I just thought that was a really great plot point too, connecting with all the stuff I've said before. But yeah, it was just really emotional and hard to see that Mark actually created Steven as a coping mechanism. And I bet that was really hard for Steven to realize what happened. Now, there was one thing that I did not like about this episode, and that was how it ended. I feel like we could have gotten an extra 10 minutes or so, because I want to see what's happening in the real world with Layla and Arthur Harrow. But I'm not sure if Harrow's actually, inside the psychiatric ward, or if he's, actually manipulating Mark and Steven from the outside. I want to see what's going on with them and, the other Egyptian gods and Layla and everything that's happening in the outside world. I feel like we should have gotten a little bit more time, and I just didn't like that it ended with Mark in the Plain of Fields, or the Afterlife Haven or whatever it was. But I feel like we could have had more time in this episode, and I just really needed that, because I don't think they can pull off the finish. I'll talk about that later, but I don't think they can pull off the finale. There's still a little bit more to talk about, how Steven actually faded away, or he fell into the sands off the boat. I wonder what's going to happen with him. I also want to talk about how we get to see Mark getting his powers from Khonshu. He's at a very low point of his life. He's going to commit suicide right when you get to see how Layla's dad died, and how all those people that he was trying to protect, even though he was being a mercenary at that time, he was trying to protect them, and they all died. And then Mark was just in that palace with Khonshu there, and then Khonshu manipulates him at his lowest moment to become Moon Knight. So I just wanted to address that, and that's kind of the origin of Moon Knight for this TV show, and how Mark actually got the powers of Moon Knight. Anyway, we have to see that they have to balance their souls to get to the afterlife, or to get out of there or whatever. And we get to see that they balance at the end once Steven falls off the boat, and I think that Mark comes to terms with himself, and that's how he gets into the Plains of Haven in the afterlife. So yeah, it was just really deep and emotional episode, very complex. It was by far my favorite episode. Even though I thought the first episode was absolutely amazing, this episode was even better, and I just really enjoyed it. It was so fun to watch. It was intriguing and emotional and very in-depth, and I just really enjoyed it. Now my predictions for the final episode and what's going to happen. So I do think that we are going to see Mark, and he's not ready to go into this afterlife haven. We know that he wants to go back, but I'm not sure how he's going to get back. maybe Layla will be able to free Khonshu, and then Khonshu will be able to get Mark back into the living world. But I don't think he'll be able to get Steven. I think we won't see Steven until like the very last bit of the final episode. But I'm pretty sure that's what's gonna happen. I think that Layla is gonna go get Khonshu, and then he's gonna free Mark. And of course, we're gonna get a final battle between Khonshu and Ahmed. I think they'll both be imprisoned in stone by the final battle, but it's gonna be really epic. They're gonna use some really cool power god moves, and by the end, all of the other Egyptian gods will have imprisoned both of them. I don't think they're gonna understand Khonshu. I'm still pretty sure that Khonshu is a bad god or whatever because he manipulated Mark, but I'm not sure his motives at all. But yeah, I think they're going to be both imprisoned in stone by the end of the episode, and then they won't be able to cause harm anymore. But there still will be a battle between them, so I'm excited to see that. Anyway, like I said, I don't think Steven is going to be in this episode till the end, and I also don't think that Jake will be in this episode until the very end. I think this episode will be solely focused on Mark and how he grows as a character and who he's going to become as a person by the end of the episode. It's going to be him coming to terms with himself. And yeah, I just think it's going to be really great. It's going to be a good closing for Mark. I don't think they'll be able to stick the landing perfectly. I think it will kind of flip flop. I think it won't be as good as I want it to be because this show is easily my favorite of the Marvel shows. I just really hope they're able to stick the landing because I feel like we need an extra 2 more episodes after the next one because I think 8 episodes would be really good. They'll be able to flesh everything out. Everything will be in depth and everything will fit together perfectly if they had 8 episodes. But I hope they can stick the landing with the 6th episode. With that said, that was my episode 5 review for Moon Knight and my episode 6 predictions for Moon Knight. What did you guys think of Moon Knight so far? Are you excited for the finale? Do you think they'll land the finale? With everything said, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.